So, one of the most common questions I get from clients is, what is the grossest thing that's ever happened to you while you were waxing somebody? So, here's a quick little story time for you guys. One day I was at work. I used to work for a corporate company, and I had a client come in, and she doesn't tell me that she's on her period, which is not a big deal. I wax people on their periods all the time. Just throw in a fresh tampon, plug it up, hop on the table. Not a big deal. But she doesn't tell me that she's on her period because she had the string tucked. So I'm waxing, we're laughing, we're talking, and then out of nowhere she sneezes, and then her tampon popped out.
So my salon is located inside of a medical building. This is due to us also offering laser hair removal. Across from us, there is a gynecologist. So very often, their patients accidentally come to our salon. Usually we can tell they're not here for us because everyone has to sign in. But this one time, I don't know how we dropped the ball. Things like this don't happen to people, but it happened to me. So my 4 o'clock appointment, I had a girl named Maria. A girl walks in with her mother, and I'm like, Maria? She goes, yeah. I'm like, your appointment's at 4, right? She goes, yeah. I'm like, all right, come on back. She signed in, came to the back. I'm like, okay, so you're going to take your bottoms off, lay down on the bed, and I'll be right in, okay? She goes, oh my God, I'm so nervous. I really don't want to do this, but I really have to. I'm like, it's okay, honey. It's really, really quick. So I give her a few minutes to undress. I come back in. She looks so nervous, which is normal for first-timers. She's closing her eyes, so I spray her skin. She goes, oh, what's that? I'm like, oh, I'm just prepping your skin for the session. She goes, oh, okay. I apply the wax on her inner thighs and mons pubis. She goes, wait, is that necessary? I'm like, well, yeah. I'm like, you booked the basic, right? She goes, I think, yeah, that's what my mom booked. She goes, but why is this necessary? Does it make your job easier? I'm like, a little confused at this point, right? I'm like, no, girl, makes your life easier. We both kind of laugh. She goes, do you like what you do? I'm like, oh my God, I love it. I do this every day, all day. She goes, whoa, a lot of people get this done all day long? I'm like, of course. It's like a normal thing now. She goes, whoa, I was feeling ashamed. I thought it was going to be just a pill and that's it. I'm like, a pill to remove your hair? She goes, no, a pill to get an abortion. I'm like, wait, what service did you book? She goes, my mom, she booked an abortion for me. I'm like, oh my God, girl, your name is Maria. I have a Maria at 4 o'clock. She goes, no, girl, I'm not getting a wax. I'm getting an abortion. I'm like, oh my God, girl, get dressed. You are across the hall from me. She jumped up, got dressed, and went across the hall.
I have a 9-year-old daughter who I named after my late grandmother, Annabelle, and I'm currently pregnant. If I'm having a girl, I want to name her after my other grandmother, Rose. My sister got pregnant about 5 months before me and says she wants to name her baby Rose. I said our kids can share the name, but she says I already have Annabelle and could have named her Annabelle Rose, but passed up on the chance. So now I can't have Rose. I told her I'll look for something else, but reserve the right to use Rose if I want to. Then I fell in love with the name Rosalie. It honors my late grandmother, my boyfriend loves it, and it won't piss off my sister. A couple of weeks later, my sister gives birth and announces her daughter's name is Rosalie. I am beyond upset because now she's trying to snatch both names from me. My mom calls me to say she knew my sister was planning to do this and hopes I'm not upset because this means I can take the original name I wanted, which was Rose. But I told my mom I'm sticking with Rosalie. She said it's impractical because both Rosalies will have the same surname. My sister is a single mom and my boyfriend will be taking my last name. My sister then calls me to say I'm an inconsiderate prick and that I'm being petty. She can name her kid whatever she wants and I can't monopolize the name. I said true, so by that same logic...
Story time. My parents found out that I was dating a white boy. So a little background information. My parents are super strict, especially my dad. And on top of that, my dad thought that races should not mix. One of his sayings was, you don't see a blue jay fucking a pigeon. AKA, white people and black people should not be together. Sounds fucking stupid. Yeah, I know. Anyways, like I was saying, it was my freshman year of high school and I had been dating this boy for 2 months. And of course he was white. And we had to keep it super low-key because if any of my friends found out about it, they would have fucking told my dad. Now when I look back at it, those weren't good friends at all. Anyways, every Friday, my boyfriend and I would go to the movies. And we would go to this theater that was 45 minutes away because nobody that I knew would be there. The only person that knew that I was dating a white boy was my sister. Well, the one day after the movies, I couldn't get a ride home, so I had to get a ride home with him and his family. And as soon as I pulled up, my parents were waiting outside, like for part. Storytime about how this girl pretended to be my best friend just to go on vacation with me. So a little background information, I was 14 and a freshman in high school, and we're gonna call this girl Sophia. Sophia and I met whenever we were in 6th grade, and we were inseparable. And shortly after her and I had became best friends, my mom thought that it would be nice for us to go on vacation to Hawaii in 2 years. She also said that my brother and I would be able to bring one friend each. So I asked Sophia if she wanted to come to Hawaii in 2 years, and of course she said yes. Keep in mind, I was popular, Sophia was kind of lame, and I'm not even saying that just to be mean, but it's true. So over the next 2 years, her and I are hanging out every day, sneaking out together because we also live like 2 minutes away from each other. And my brother decided that he was going to bring his friend Noah. And I had a crush on Noah, and Sophia knew this, but she would always flirt with him in front of me. I really should have saw this as a red flag, but we love to ignore those. And then out of nowhere, Sophia starts dressing like me and starts getting more popular in school. Like for part 2.
I've been waxing for several years now, so I'm pretty comfortable in this area. When I get first-time clients, I usually explain to them what to expect during the process and after. If you have recently shaved within the last 2 to 3 weeks, or if I kind of can tell that you're not going to get really smooth results your first wax, I do explain this to you so that there won't be any surprises. I like to be sincere and crystal clear. So I had a first-time client come to the salon. She had never gotten a Brazilian wax or underarm wax. She had recently shaved 14 days to be exact. My preference is 3 to 4 weeks, but the minimum is 14 days. So I said, okay, I'll wax you, but I'm going to make it very clear that you might not be really smooth today. I might leave teeny tiny hairs behind. This is due to the wax not being able to pick up those tiny hairs. Also, since they're really short, you are going to notice them sprout or seem longer than the new hairs that are growing in, and that's also normal. Just stick with the program, come back in 4 weeks, and eventually you will reach a nice, smooth, consistent regrowth. She was like, oh, that's fine. I'm going on vacation. I just want to start this process. I'm like, all right, as long as you're aware. So I start doing her wax. She keeps closing her legs, telling me to stop. I'm being as gentle as possible, but of course, it's not a comfortable thing, especially your first time. She ends up deciding that she only wants to get a basic Brazilian and not get the underarms. She goes, you can keep the rest as your tip. Now, 8 days later, I don't know where we went wrong. So my client never really felt connected with her family. She always felt like an outsider. She expressed her interest in Ancestry.com. I'm like, girl, if you feel some type of way, why don't you just do it? She's like, you know what, I am. So after that little push, she went for it. The next time I saw her, she was like, Jenny, you're not going to believe this. I did the Ancestry.com thing, and at 42 years old, she found out that she was not even related to any of her siblings. Her mom and dad aren't even her parents. She was shocked and disbelief, but also felt like, wow, that gut feeling that she had was real. So she confronted her mother. At this point, her mom was 82 years old. The mom bursted out in tears and said she didn't want to talk about it. But my client pressed her on this issue. She's like, I deserve to know what my real identity is. Very selfish of you to not tell me that I'm not even your daughter. And the mom looked at her. She goes, I am your mother. I raised you. She's like, I know, but I want to know who my real mom is. So she ended up telling her that. She bought her from a lady in Guatemala that really needed money. The lady was desperate with 7 kids already and just couldn't do it anymore. So then she brought her to the United States. Now my client is on the search for her mom and her 7 siblings. I hope she finds them.
I've been sleeping with my mom's fiance, and I don't know how to tell her. I, 22 female, met my soon-to-be stepdad, Christian, 37 male, about 8 months ago at a bar near my college. As you can imagine, our first encounter was a drunken one-night stand. The next weekend, when I went back with my friends, he was there again. This time, we exchanged phone numbers before we went back to my place again. Even though it started off as sex, it quickly became more, and about a month after meeting, we officially started dating. And I thought that the feeling was mutual. He lived a few towns over, same town as my mom, 39 female actually. But I never connected the dots. Since we had only been seeing each other for a few months, I never thought to bring him up to my mom. About 2 weeks ago, I went over to my mom's house to pick her up for a lunch date. During lunch, she brought up her new boyfriend. I honestly wasn't paying much attention because I was texting Christian. I congratulated her and I asked when I could meet him. We set up a dinner for the following weekend. I can't explain how I kept it together when I walked into the kitchen and I saw him holding my mother from behind.
Alright, so I'm gonna tell y'all about the first ever time a client tapped out halfway through me waxing her Brazilian. And I don't blame her. So she comes into my wax room, gets undressed, and hops on the table. I get ready to wax her, but she has this panicked look on her face. Now, spreading your legs for a stranger who's gonna rip hairs out of you is definitely stress-inducing. But this was different. I, of course, ask her if she's okay, and then she tells me everything that happened to her at her previous wax. Honestly, after having such a traumatic waxing experience, I can't even believe she tried to get waxed again. So, when she was getting waxed at this other place, they were using soft wax, the kind that needs a cloth strip to remove it, which you have to be extra careful with, but her waxer was not careful. So the waxer applies the wax and it gets inside her cooch. Now, if I see that soft wax got into my client's cooch, I'm gonna remove the wax gently with some oil. Instead of doing this, the waxer puts the cloth on anyway and pulls the strip. She ripped the inside of my client's cooch. Now, I generally go hard for my fellow SDs. We be out here in the trenches, and we all have some crazy stories. But what got me is that the esthetician tried to blame the client. The client was just sitting there, minding her black-owned, God-given business, and ends up with her coochie laying lifeless on the table. Literally. Be safe out there, y'all. Keep your good waxers close and your intact coochies.
Am I the asshole for kicking my sister out for bringing gluten into our gluten-free kitchen? My daughter is on the more severe end of celiac. Any cross-contamination would set her back for weeks. It's taken years to get her properly diagnosed and treated, and at 10 years old, she's now underweight and has severe anxiety about food. She won't eat if she feels it's unsafe, and it's hard for me to blame her. Our house has a kitchen and a kitchenette in the basement, complete with full sets of pans and utensils. Our main rule is absolutely no dairy, gluten, or seafood to be kept or cooked in the kitchen. The kitchenette is meant for items with those ingredients. Anyways, my sister and her kids have to move in.
Am I the asshole for refusing to tell my husband the gender of our baby after he skipped going to the doctor appointment with me?
If that man was golfing, I'm gonna smack him. If this man was like, I can't miss tea time.
My husband and I are expecting. This is our first baby and we're excited. Thing is, he barely attends any doctor's appointments with me and his excuses aren't even valid. He's willing to miss the doctor appointment over soccer or a drink or a board game with friends. His response is always, quote, I'm not the one carrying the baby. Why do I have to go see the doctor with you?
I've heard enough.
Last week was my final straw. He was supposed to come with me for the baby's gender reveal appointment, but he chose not to come last minute because his friend invited him to fish and chips meal.
No, shut the
I was pretty livid, but didn't make a fuss about it. Mom went with me instead. He texted asking me to tell him the results, boy or girl, but I refused to tell him. He kept spam calling me, but I hung up each time. He came home fuming, demanded I tell him the results, but I refused and bluntly told him.
In my entire career, this is the first time this has ever happened to me. I was waxing my amazing, beautiful client today, and I'm already working my way down to the perineum section. With that section, I make sure that the hard wax goes inside as much as possible. When I go to take off the strip, I noticed that I pulled out a press-on nail. It was stuck on the wax. I'm like, girl, you're not gonna believe this, but I just pulled out a nail from your hoo-ha. She's like, oh my God, Yanni. My girlfriend and I were doing the do, and we couldn't find the nail. I'm like, well, here it is. I found it. She's like,
Story time about how I kissed every teacher I had a crush on and never got caught. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. I'm sending on Instagram. As we were sitting in my car kissing, he asked me for my number. Gave him my number, and that's when he said that because he's only a substitute teacher, we could still hang out outside of school. And I said, of course. The following week, he was gone because the teacher he was substituting for was back. No, he never called me. A few months later, we had another substitute teacher, and this guy was also really good looking. He wasn't as good looking as the first one, but good enough to distract me. This time I got lucky. He was substituting for drama, and I took drama twice a week, so I knew that I was going to be seeing him often. First thing I needed to do was get him to notice me, but this took a lot longer than the other guy. For the first week, I would just try to talk to him, but he was not having it. He would literally tell me to just go sit down, but I couldn't give up. One day after class, I decided to stay late. I knew that he would be staying late as well, so I knew that was my in. I went up to him and asked him if I could help him out. He said yes, and he basically told me to put away some of the costuming. As we were doing that, I just started talking to him, and I swear to God, for a minute, this guy forgot that I was a student. We started talking about everything. By the end of the conversation,
I have had an alarming amount of women come in for a Brazilian with literal poop in their ass. But the absolute worst, the worst client was a regular. Couldn't even see where to wax. I had to wax around it, and the smell.
Am I the asshole for telling my sister I will only watch her kids if she pays me? A few years ago, I was going away to a conference, so I asked my sister if she could watch my dogs while I was away. She said she would do it if I paid her, so I hired a service instead. When I moved out of our parents' home, my friends all helped me out, but not her. She was busy doing schoolwork, but said that she would take a break if I paid for her time. When she moved in with her boyfriend, now husband, I helped her out. She never even bought pizza or beer. She's an amateur photographer, but pretty great to be honest. When I got married, it was a small thing in my parents' backyard. To save money, I did everything with friends and family. My aunt lent me her wedding dress, and one of my friends made the cake. Everyone pitched in to decorate, set up, and clean. I asked if she could take the wedding pictures. She said only if I paid. So I got a bunch of disposable cameras and used those for the candid shots and paid a photographer for the ceremony and formals only. I now make enough money that I can afford to make my life easier by just paying for whatever I need. I still do favors for friends, and they often return them.
This is a girl tried to walk out without paying. So she booked a basic Brazilian. She paid $24 online, and then she had to pay the other $24 here in person. I completed the service. Now it's time for her to pay. Tony tells her it's $24, but if she would like to pre-book, she would have to leave a deposit for her next appointment as well. She's like, why is it $24? I think that I should be paying less because I really didn't have a lot of hair. He's like, that doesn't matter, ma'am. She completed a basic Brazilian on you, and that's her price. She's like, well, I think I deserve a discount. It's my first time here. Don't you guys do that? I don't think it's right. He's like, no, ma'am. We reward our loyal clients, though. We have a reward program. Every 6 points, you do get a discount with us. She's like, well, I think I want to cash that in right now. He's like, that's not how it works here. Your total is going to be $24. How would you like to pay? She's like, well, I'm not going to give you $24. I'm going to give you exactly what I think she deserves because I didn't have a lot of hair, so I'm going to give her $10. So now one of my clients hears this commotion. She's like, look, girl, you're going to pay what they're asking you to pay, and you're going to get the F up out of here. Tony's like, it's okay, I got it. The girl's like, you don't talk to me like that. And now she's starting to walk out. Now the girl stands in front of the door. She's like, you're not going anywhere. Either you pay or I'm calling the police right now. She starts screaming, oh my God, I feel threatened. Oh my God, I'm getting kidnapped right now. The police is called. The police comes. The girl's crying, saying that we're kidnapping her basically because we're not letting her go home. And now she's claiming that she paid. Thankfully, we have cameras in our establishment, so we show the police that she had not paid yet. They tell her that either she pays or she goes to jail. So of course, she pays. She says that she's going to give me a bad review because I made her feel uncomfortable because we kidnapped her. Oh my God. We decide to block her from the system. A month later, she calls us asking us why she's blocked. She loved her experience with me and wants to see me again.
I get home from work today. I change into comfy clothes. A knock on my door. I'm generally opposed to answering the door, but I do today anyway. I don't know why. It's a Dallas police detective. He asks if he can see the footage from my Ring doorbell because there was an incident on January 10th. Generally, I'm opposed to snitching, but honestly, I showed him the footage on my phone hoping that he would tell me what this incident was. He tells me what he's looking for. We go through the videos. We don't find anything suspicious. He leaves. I go back through the videos and I find something suspicious. I walk around my complex a little bit. I can't find him, so I go to the office. I'm like, hey, was there a cop wandering around? Were y'all aware of this? And the guy working the front office of my complex was like, no, I was not aware that there was a police officer walking around right now, but do you want to know the tea of what's going on? And I said, abso-fucking-lutely I do. He literally said, have a seat. And I said, okay. He goes, do you live in this building? I said, I do live in that building. He goes, your upstairs neighbor is stealing people's identity by getting into their mailboxes. And I was appalled. Okay, the scandal. I'm terrified of having my identity stolen. And then he goes, but do you want to know what happened? And I said, please tell me immediately. He said, one of your other neighbors went and confronted him about it and pulled a gun. And I said, Bestie, I'm on the side of the guy with a gun. Do you want to know why? Identity theft is not a joke. Millions of families suffer every year. I am truly terrified of having my identity stolen. At that moment, the police detective comes traipsing in and I tell him, hey, I found something on my Ring camera that you might want to see. It's not what we were looking for, but I was doing my civic duty. Mostly, I just want to figure out what the fuck's going on and try and help them get this horrible person stealing people's identities and also pulling guns on people out of my fucking complex. Fast forward a few hours, I'm on my couch writing a scathing review of Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood because frankly it was just not good. And someone tries to open my door. And then they pound on my door, and then they ring my Ring doorbell. But surprise of all surprises, it's offline and I cannot see who's outside my door. I am now thoroughly convinced that someone is targeting me for snitching, for showing the cops my fucking footage, and I'm armed with the only thing that I have that could possibly beat an intruder, and that is a roll.
Story time about the girl who was absolutely obsessed with me in high school. So it was my junior year in high school, and I'm just going to tell you guys the first story of how I knew that she was absolutely obsessed with me and wanted to be me. Well, I had been dating this guy for like a month, and I sent him nudes. Well, my nudes got spread around the school, and everybody knew they were mine until this one girl, and we're gonna call her Addie, started saying that they were hers. I guess one of my friends was talking about it in class, and they were like, OMG, did you hear that her nudes got leaked? AKA mine. And Addie was sitting at the same table, and she said, no, those are my nudes. And at first, I thought this girl was just trying to be nice. I was like, oh, well, that's nice of her, you know. Like, maybe she's just trying to say that so that way nobody will bully me, I guess. Well, the one day I texted her about it. And I was like, hey, like, you don't have to do that. It's fine. I'll take responsibility for it. I did it. And she was like, what are you talking about? Those are my nudes. Like, for
my boyfriend's body odor is so bad that I'm considering breaking up with him. Am I the asshole? His pee-pee smells really bad. My boyfriend and I have been together for almost 6 months now. The thing is, he's actually really good looking and he's hot. He's actually got an amazing body. He's an athlete. A few months into us dating, I started noticing that he was smelling a little funky. Especially when I tried to go down there, if you know what I mean. So I just never offered. Then I started noticing that he smelled really bad after every single practice. I'm the type of person that will always tell somebody if they have something in their teeth, or if there's something on your face, I'm gonna let you know. So one day I told him that he kind of stank and that he needed to take a shower. That's when he told me that his coach and his entire team are very superstitious and that they can only shower twice a week.
My cousin Millie is 30 years old and is an ER nurse. Her birthday was a few days ago and we planned a birthday prank, which was leaving a fake snake on her cake. All fun and games because we do this every year to every family member. Well, apparently this year Millie didn't want it, so she was pretty pissed at the fact that we didn't. Now, a few days ago while I was in school, I got a call from Millie during lunch. I thought it would be her saying she's picking me up, but it wasn't. She proceeded to tell me that my mother had passed away in a car accident. My heart dropped and I felt like puking. My mother and I don't have the best relationship, but I still love her. Millie began to tell me the details of the death and what exactly happened to the point I hung up on her and called my mother. My mom, who was supposedly at work as a nurse, didn't pick up and I ended up running to the bathroom. I called my dad, bawling my eyes out and telling him what happened. He didn't understand what I was talking about because he called my mom right before I called. He made me explain everything and understandably he was pissed. He picked me up from school and called my mom in the car just to prove that she was alive and okay. That night, my aunt, who's not Millie's mom, called a meeting to her house and we all talked it out. They were all pretty much disgusted with Millie.
Am I the asshole for calling off my wedding after my fiance got an abortion? I told her if she gets an abortion, I'm leaving and I won't look back. She used the my body, my choice shit. And I told her that's not fair. We are a partnership and those decisions we make together. After that argument, she told me she was getting an abortion and there was nothing I could do about it. She told me she wanted me to be there with her when she got it done, but I told her no. Still thinking she was kidding. But she returned with a sheet of paper after she got it done. I was so upset I just wanted to scream and yell at her, but I just took my ring, sat it on the table gently. I told her I had a business trip and she had until I returned home from my trip to have her shit out of my house. While I was on my trip, I got my deposits and money back for everything, including her dress and the venue. She was so upset she called me crying, saying I was an asshole for leaving her and exceeding her medical right to choose. I told her if she thinks that's why I'm leaving, then she's as dumb as a bag of bricks, and I blocked her. So, am I the asshole for calling off my wedding after my fiance got an abortion? Let me know your thoughts.
This is why I Photoshop every picture of my daughter. My daughter Anna loves playing dress up. Oh sure, it might feed her insecurities, but it's also about the only thing that makes her smile these days. See, Anna was born with an unfortunate condition. All you really need to know is by age 7, she had the face of a 60-year-old man. On her very first day of school, she found herself in the hot seat, absorbing a barrage of insults and rude stares. Even the parents laughed. I barely finished waving goodbye when she raced across the playground and buried her head in my waist, sobbing. Wherever we went, be it the butcher, the beach, or the park, somebody would gawk that my daughter would disappear into her bedroom for weeks at a time. It took 50 books on parenting before I figured out how to make her open up. She told me more than anything she simply wanted to look like the other girls. I contemplated this, then made her promise that she'd accompany me to a movie that weekend. As we joined the queue for the concession stand, Alice, the neighborhood resident queen bee, made a snide remark about my daughter looking like the crypt keeper. How a teenager even knows that reference.
I'm going to divorce my husband of 10 years. My husband and I met when I was 18. It had always been just me and my best friend, but when my husband came along, we became an inseparable trio. For me, it was love at first sight. I had the biggest crush on him, but didn't want to ruin the friendship thing we had, so I kept it to myself until he confessed to me when we were 20. Things went fast and we got married when we were 22. My best friend got married too, and we have all remained close. We had invited my best friend and her husband around for dinner, and we were joking about the things we got up to. And my husband brought up how he had always had a crush on my best friend, but then she got a boyfriend, so he settled for me instead. When I tell you my whole world just came crashing down, I realized my marriage of 10 years was him settling for second best, that I was never his first. Am I the asshole for making my son shower at school? My son is in the 6th grade, and showering is not a big deal to him anymore. To make matters worse, he has sports after school, which is at his school. So when I pick him up, he stinks. He will promise to shower, but doesn't do a good enough job. Yesterday, I went to pick him up and handed him a bag with shampoo, body wash, clean clothes, and deodorant. He asked me what that was for, and I said he's going to take a shower in the boys' locker room. There were a few older kids in there who shower. He refused, and I said he's not coming home until he does. He said he'd take one at home, and I said nope. I also told him to not bother calling his mom. He did shower and was fresh and clean, but had tears in his eyes. I told him when I dropped him off that he either showers at home or at school, and I'll always have a change bag for this with me. His mom says the whole thing is
I cheated on my wife last night. I don't know what to do. Obviously, I need to tell her, but I still haven't been able to get my head around it. One of my coworkers were leaving, so we all went out for drinks and then to a club. My wife's not a drinking or clubbing type, so she stayed home but was fine with me going. I was drunk. I know I was drunk. My head is still pounding. I remember being at the bar, then at the club, then waking up with the woman I didn't know on top of me in a house I didn't know. She said something like, "Oh shit, I thought you were asleep," and got off of me. I got my clothes and quickly got the hell out of there. I walked for however long until I got a taxi and I got home at like 6 a.m. My wife works early shifts, so she started work at 5 a.m. and I haven't seen her. I don't know who the woman was. I haven't spoken to my coworkers. I don't even remember getting there. I don't remember leaving the club with her. I love my wife. I don't know what the fuck I was thinking. Even drunk, I don't know how I could have even had it in my subconscious to cheat on her. I don't even think I was that drunk. Like I'd only had 3 or 4 beers before going to the club, and I usually have a pretty high tolerance. Don't know if I'll ever be able to look my wife in the eye when she gets home in a couple.
When I first started doing makeup, I was still in high school. That means that I did a lot of homecoming and prom makeup. At the very beginning, I would only do makeup for people that I knew personally or that were close friends. But after the second year of me doing makeup, I started having people that I had never even met before reach out and ask me to do their makeup. I guess it's also important to note here that I went to a pretty big high school and my graduating class was almost 500 people. But anyways, I got a DM on Instagram from this girl asking me if I could do her homecoming makeup. We had mutual friends, so she wasn't completely a stranger, but I had never met her before. Before the day of homecoming rolled around, I reached out to her and let her know that I would be charging $20 and she could pay in cash or through Venmo. She agreed to pay the $20 and then sent me pictures of the makeup look she wanted. Flash forward to the day of homecoming, I had about 6 people I was doing makeup for and people were coming in and out of my house like crazy. When this girl showed up for her appointment, I noticed that she didn't have her wallet or anything with her in her hand. But at this point in me doing makeup, I hadn't figured out how to ask for payment politely before.
Time my dad's home, I get anything I want, any food I want to eat, any gift I want, and he even gets me out of chores sometimes. If you ask me, my mom's jealous of our bond, because sometimes when she sees me sitting on my dad hugging him, she would at those moments tell me to do chores. And unfortunately for her, one day it worked. I was sitting on my dad watching a Netflix movie and eating good. Here comes my mom coming home from work telling me to go do the dishes because it's full. This got me so mad. Why do I have to do chores? And that's when my plan started. I was going to sleep with my dad to get back at my jealous mom. Life report 2.
Am I the asshole for fighting for custody of a surrogate child that I am carrying? I, 35 female, am a single woman, and in 2009, I had my daughter Emma, 3 female, to artificial insemination. I balance work and single motherhood. I chose to be a single parent as I have always wanted to be a mother, but I never really wanted to be in a relationship. My longtime friend Nicole, 39 female, and her husband Paul, 38 male, have been trying to conceive for years. When Nicole asked me to be their surrogate, I agreed. Thus began a long cycle of embryo transfers. We had 4 failed implantations, but the 5th one was successful, and I am currently 6 months pregnant. A stipulation in our contracts were that Nicole's eggs were to be used, as I did not want to use mine because I did not want the baby to be genetically related to me. Well, while I was reading the paperwork, I discovered that my eggs were used this time. I called and confronted them. They said that they had no choice, as Nicole was told that her eggs were not viable. I was furious. Part 2. Am I the asshole for fighting for custody of a surrogate child that I am carrying? I was furious. I told them that they should have asked me, but Nicole's response was that I would have said no. And to be honest, I would have said no. But I am pregnant with a baby that is genetically mine, and that is not what I wanted. This all took place a month ago, and after a lot of thinking over my situation, I have decided that since this baby is genetically mine, I am raising him. My state gives rights to the birth mother. However, I was advised to lawyer up, which I have since done. Both Nicole and Paul are trying to fight for custody for adoption. However, with how it looks, they have no rights to adopt the baby together. But since Paul is the biological father, he would have rights. Most people have told me that I agreed to carry a baby for them and that I am now backing out, which is not true. This is my baby genetically. I agreed to carry a baby for Paul and Nicole that was theirs genetically, but I do take my part in the blame for not reading my 5th contract. I should have been asked for them to use my eggs instead of them hiding it in a new contract.
Am I the asshole if I tell my friend her boyfriend is planning to propose? Yeah. Yeah, that's the top vote on the post. My 27 female best friend has been dating her boyfriend, 26 male, for over 5 years. A while back, he reached out to me to help figure out ring size and the setup so he could make this the most magical day for her. Having known my friend for over 20 plus years, I know exactly how she wants her proposal to go and who she wants to be there. So I relayed all of this information to him months ago via text and over the phone. I even took the time to covertly find and confirm which ring she would love the most. A little background. My friend is incredibly family and friend oriented, and in the past expressed to me on multiple occasions, especially during holiday season, that in the 5 years they've been together, he hasn't really made much of an effort to indoctrinate himself into her family or friendships the way she has for his. While I do generally like him, I've always felt that am I the asshole for making inappropriate noises when my mother-in-law called my husband's phone at 2 a.m.?
Yeah.
My husband Kevin and I got married months ago. Ever since we moved away, his mom started calling more often. She had a mental breakdown when she heard we were moving. She begged we stay near because she, quote, needs him, even though her 2 older sons are there. She'd call at random times, then start calling in the middle of the night, specifically at 2 a.m. I thought that was so weird, but she said she wanted to hear Kevin's voice, but was too busy to call during the day. Kevin responds to her call every time, saying he's worried there might be an emergency. It's exhausting and completely ruins our alone time. I asked her to call at like 10, but no, she kept calling at 2. Kevin said he can't bring himself to ignore her calls and asked that I be patient. Last night, I decided I wasn't having it. I waited until Kevin was
Am I the for not correcting my kids when they told my ex's wife she's not their mother? I have 2 sons, ages 10 and 12 with my ex. We broke up over a number of issues, one of which was Emily, a woman he had worked with for years. The 2 of them grew very close, and she was always telling me how my ex-husband deserved better than me, that I was trying to steal his family away from him. A few times she even pretended to be his wife during work functions, and my ex would laugh them off, as well as that he would be really bad with money and other stuff. After we separated, he made things official with Emily. Emily was even more openly hostile when she realized my ex's family still liked me and would still include me. Not to mention when she realized my boys weren't super happy that she was their dad's new girlfriend. Emily actually called my ex's mom a cunt for saying that I was the best mom when they were all having a family dinner. My ex got a firm warning from a judge about using Emily to do exchanges of our boys and to deal with custody issues. This was after he confronted me a number of times during exchanges in front of our children.
Story time about how I did the dirty with my student. Please TikTok, do not delete this. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. Like I said, I was 6 years older than him, was 17 going on 18. So on my first day as his teacher, he would not stop staring at me. And at the end of the class, he actually handed me his phone number. I was actually shook. Coming from an abusive relationship, my ex would always talk down on me. He would tell me that I was ugly and fat, even though I was actually a fitness model when I met him, and he forced me to leave my career. So when the student gave me his number, I was really flattered. And guess what I did? I went ahead and sent him a text message Over the next week, we actually ended up just becoming friends. We would text each other every now and then, and I could tell that he was catching feelings really fast. I know you're gonna roll your eyes, but we actually had a lot in common. After the first week, I was actually transferred over to another grade, and that's when he asked me if I wanted to go to the movies with him. When I got to the movie theater, he greeted me with a flower and a kiss on the lips. I was in shock, and we proceeded to make out the entire movie. After that, I invited him to come over to my house, and he said yes. At first, he was shy when we got there. After 10 minutes, he warmed up, and we started kissing again. At this point, I realized that maybe I shouldn't be doing this. Told him to leave, but he...
So my client, Irene, has been married for 10 years. She has 3 kids, and because of this, she gained a lot of weight. And with her busy lifestyle, she doesn't really get ready anymore. Her hair is always in a bun. She's always wearing leggings or joggers. She doesn't really wear makeup anymore. She's always on the go, working, coming home, and still has to take care of the household. She expressed to me that her husband doesn't really show affection anymore. It's a hi, kiss, bye, kiss. When they hang out, they're both in different sofas. He's not so affectionate anymore. She expressed how she misses the random slaps on the butt, the kisses, the hugs, the servicing of each other. That's what was missing at this point. Even on her end, she stopped doing so many cute things for him. She checked his phone and social media and nothing. There was no signs of cheating, just boredom. They were both used to each other. So she decided to start getting ready again.
I met Asla for refusing to tattoo an extremely overweight woman. So I'm a tattoo artist, and today this woman came in to get a geometric, jewelry-ish type tattoo on her stomach and underboob. We discussed this tattoo over message, but she did not mention her weight. Now, normally weight is not a huge concern, but her torso is just a series of folds, and that's where the tattoo would be. I already drawn up the tattoo, and when I looked at her torso, I decided it wouldn't be possible, and the tattoo would either have to skip over those areas or go into the folds. So I simply told her I could not do the tattoo, and she asked why, and I explained in the kindest way possible. Now this is where she completely snapped at me, screaming into my face, saying that I'm fat phobic, and I didn't want to do it because I simply found her gross. I care a lot about making my clients feel comfortable, and obviously I don't want to do crappy tattoos. Obviously triggered something in her, and I feel bad. She said fine, that she'll have it on a different place on her body, and I refused. After this tantrum, no way. I'm an asshole.
Story time about how I did the dirty with my student. Please TikTok, do not delete this. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. Like I said, I was 6 years older than him, was 17 going on 18. So on my first day as his teacher, he would not stop staring at me. And at the end of the class, he actually handed me his phone number. I was actually shook. Coming from an abusive relationship, my ex would always talk down on me. He would tell me that I was ugly and fat, even though I was actually a fitness model when I met him, and he forced me to leave my career. So when the student gave me his number, I was really flattered. And guess what I did? I went ahead and sent him a text message. Over the next week, we actually ended up just becoming friends. We would text each other every now and then, and I could tell that he was catching feelings really fast. I know you're gonna roll your eyes, but we actually had a lot in common. After the first week, I was actually transferred over to another grade, and that's when he asked me if I wanted to go to the movies with him. When I got to the movie theater, he greeted me with a flower and a kiss on the lips. I was in shock, and we proceeded to make out the entire movie. After that, I invited him to come over to my house, and he said yes. At first, he was shy when we got there. After 10 minutes, he warmed up, and we started kissing again. At this point, I realized that maybe I shouldn't be doing this. Told him to leave, but he said he wouldn't. And he kissed me again. This is how I found out my dad was following me on OnlyFans. Disclaimer, is not my story time, it's on my Instagram. So this one guy started sending me $1,000 every single week. In exchange, I would send him private photos. Everything was totally fine until he started asking me questions. He would ask me things like, what's your favorite movie? What's your favorite dessert? Because it's OnlyFans, I never really answered honestly. But then one day he told me, you love The Little Mermaid, don't you? And I was like, what? Because The Little Mermaid was my favorite movie as a kid. Watched it at least 3 times a week when I was a kid. First I thought it was a cousin playing a joke on me, so I decided to block them. The next day I get another message. This one says, I remember how you used to love hot dogs. That's when I really shit myself. Because my dad and I would make hot dogs every single Friday. It was our thing together. Like I said, he was a deadbeat, so he couldn't afford anything more than cheap hot dogs. And that's when he said, I have a confession. And before I could reply, he said, I'm your dad. I felt so disgusted. I blocked him and then blocked him from my cell phone too. That's when he sends me a long text message explaining why he signed up to my OnlyFans. He said that he was just trying to get to know me, that all he really wanted was to get me back with my husband's penis, and now he wants to divorce me. Disclaimer, is not my story time, it's on my Instagram. So after I brought it up that he never wants to have sex with me, he got furious. He told me that I was always breathing down his neck, that the happiest time in his life is when he's at work in the army. Now my husband's never been the super affectionate type, but he's never been like that. So I asked him again why he's being so distant and cold. He told me that I was being too clingy, and that after years of marriage, I should have been over him. Over him? So I asked him if he was over me. He looks me straight in the eyes and says, well, it's kind of hard to be attracted to you when you're not in good shape. My husband's in the army, so as you can imagine, he is in very good shape. He's got an 8-pack and is pure muscle. But I didn't know it was a requirement to be in really good shape to be married to him. When he saw the look on my face, he quickly apologized and said that he was just upset. I asked him what was going on at work, and he told me that he was just having a hard time. Then I asked him if he was interested in someone at work. Of course he said no though. He told me that I was being too sensitive.
Story time, my parents found out that I was dating a white boy. So, a little background information. My parents are super strict, especially my dad. And on top of that, my dad thought that races should not mix. One of his sayings was, "You don't see a blue jay fucking a pigeon." AKA, white people and black people should not be together. Sounds fucking stupid. Yeah, I know. Anyways, like I was saying, it was my freshman year of high school and I had been dating this boy for 2 months. And of course, he was white. And we had to keep it super low-key because if any of my friends found out about it, they would have fucking told my dad. Now when I look back at it, those weren't good friends at all. Anyways, every Friday, my boyfriend and I would go to the movies. And we would go to this theater that was 45 minutes away because nobody that I knew would be there. The only person that knew that I was dating a white boy was my sister. Well, the one day after the movies, I couldn't get a ride home, so I had to get a ride home with him and his family. And as soon as I pulled up, my parents were with—
A man escapes prison after 15 years, then breaks into a house to look for money. He finds a couple in bed, orders the guy out of bed, and ties him to a chair. The escaped prisoner then ties the wife to the bed and jumps on top of her, and it looks like he kissed her, then gets up and goes to the bathroom and closes the door. While he's in the bathroom, the husband whispers over to his wife, "Hey, he's an escaped convict. Look at his clothes. He's probably spent a lot of time in jail and hasn't seen a woman in years. I saw the way he kissed your neck. If he wants anything, don't resist, don't complain, just go with it. Satisfy him no matter what. This guy is obviously dangerous, and if he gets angry, he'll kill us both. Be strong, honey, and I love you." His wife looks at him, smiles, and says, "He wasn't kissing my neck. He was whispering in my ear. He told me that he likes men and thinks you're cute and asked me where the Vaseline was. I told him it was in the bathroom. Be strong, honey, and I love you."
Part 2 on how my mom pissed me off, so I slept with my dad. Okay, so boom, like I said, my mom came back from work and told me to do chores. I told her no, I'm watching a movie with dad, hoping my dad would back me up. But he said, "Go ahead, sweetheart, I'll pause it till you're done." This got me so mad. Why do I have to do chores? And that's when my plan started. I was going to sleep with my dad to get back at my jealous mom. So the next day I got back from school and my dad was home. We have about 3 hours together before my mom gets home from work. I was going to make sure I get my dad in bed. He was sleeping once I came back home from school, so I went and took a quick shower and I joined him. I laid beside him and he woke him up. Then my dad asked me what was I doing. No words needed. I kissed him and he kissed me back. And it happened. Yes, the dirty. It happened. How's that to that jealous
Story time about how I married my father. Disclaimer, this is not my story time and trigger warning for this. After our first kiss, everything changed. We didn't think of each other as father-daughter. And of course, our relationship began to get more serious. And one thing we kept discussing was, should we tell our family or should we just keep it secret? So we kept it secret for almost a full year. I told my mom that I was dating someone, but I wouldn't tell her who it was. Also, a little side note, my mom and dad didn't have any contact between them at this time. My mom was actually married to someone else and they were very happy. But for me, it was getting to the point where I needed to tell somebody. Because yes, part of me felt that this was really wrong, but the other part of me felt that it was just right. I had never met anybody like him before. So I decided to tell my grandma, and she nearly had a heart attack. She called my mom.
I found out my girlfriend peed in my food whenever she was angry with me. I feel so grossed out and betrayed, and I kept hoping that all of this was a nightmare. I threw out any containers of food I had just because of this shit, and it's got me so paranoid. I feel so violated, and I don't know who to tell. My girlfriend, well, now my ex-girlfriend, was a very chill and very laid-back person, even in arguments. Well, we were talking about how the submarine goers don't really deserve any sympathy, apart from the 19-year-old, rest in peace. Her take was that a life is a life. My take was there was way more information coming out about how this trip was, and any sane person would go, "Oh no, this is dangerous." Anyway, I thought it was lighthearted because of how she spoke so calmly and even laughed at some points. Until she just ended it with, "You know what? Don't talk to me." I tried to tell her it doesn't matter, and she kept going, yeah, and basically telling me to shut up. So here's where I'm feeling like crap. I wake up in the middle of the night and she's not in her bed.
Am I the asshole for having with my boyfriend's younger brother after he asked me for an open relationship? I, 26 female, have been with my boyfriend, 26 male, for about 2 years. Never had an issue until last month when he asked me to open our relationship. He said that all men have the innate desire to sleep with as many women as they like. He said that women are attracted to men like him who are in their peak physical shape and that he should take advantage of that. Something about men wanting to spread their seed far and wide. I did not see this coming at all. I was was appalled. At the end, he said that I'm wife material and the woman that he wants to come home to. But of course, that just rubs salt on the wound. However, I told him that this is fine and asked if he has anyone particular in mind. He was surprised by my reaction and told me how awesome I am for being so understanding. Then he showed me his Tinder and upcoming date. He knew that this arrangement only benefited him because I'm not into casual flings, so I wouldn't be sleeping around.
Am I wrong for telling my sister-in-law no one cares that she's pregnant? Backstory. My cousin, 33 female, who I'll call Mary, lost her husband, 32 male, and 2 of her 3 children, 3 female and 9-month-old male, in a car accident last week. Her and her daughter, 5, are as you would expect, and it's just heartbreaking. Well, today was the funeral, and my brother's wife announced her pregnancy the second they arrived at our house this morning, and we were like, okay, congratulations, but please keep it on the down low for today. Well, when we arrived at the church, she kept making gagging sounds and rubbing her stomach, saying, I, as a mom, can't imagine what she's going through. They have no kids, so people would look at her and she'd tell them she was pregnant. Afterwards, at my aunt's house, my sister-in-law kept making everything about her. Like someone was in the bathroom and my sister-in-law would loudly say, pregnant lady needs to pee. She literally told my cousin to give her her seat so the lady with the baby could rest her feet. I ignored her until she came to Mary, stuck out her flat belly and said, me and Isaac just found out I was pregnant, and honestly, we are beside ourselves. It could happen to us. Mary broke.
My husband has locked me out of our home thinking I cheated. We have been married for 2 weeks. On Monday, he got a call from his brother that his father hit their mother while backing up the driveway and that she broke her hip. She went into surgery and got hip replacement, and she was in pain. My husband left immediately to his parents and stayed there until Wednesday morning. They lived 4 hours away. When he came home around 8 a.m. on Wednesday, I was on my way out to work. He asked me why it smelled like cologne for men in our apartment and especially in our bedroom. I was confused and didn't know what he meant. I told him that I didn't know because I was running late and I left for work without further discussion. When I came back from work, he had already changed the locks. I tried to call and text, but his phone was off. I called my mom and she let me stay with her. I was so worried, so I called my brother-in-law and he told me that my husband was there, but that he didn't want to talk to me. Later, he texted me and said it was over between us. I asked what's going on and he told me that he knew I had been with the man while he was away, that I was disgusting for cheating on him in our bed when we were newly married. His mother was angry and she demanded that I give my wedding band back to them since it cost around $18,000.
Story time about my mom caught me doing it with my neighbor. This all happened 10 years ago. I was 7 years old. Okay, here's the thing. My dad had left my mom and I for another woman. So I was always desperate for male attention. And looking back, this is so terrible, especially for a teenage girl. New neighbor had moved in that summer. And let me tell you, I was obsessed from the moment I saw this boy. I became so obsessed because his window was right across from mine. It was like a movie. He would see me changing, I would see him changing. Of course, I never told my mom. And then my mom actually became friends with his mom. So they started coming over for dinners, and they were both single moms, so they connected on that too. Now, this boy didn't go to my school though. So we basically only saw each other whenever we were home. Okay, here's where things get messy. He had a girlfriend at his school. This did not stop him from flirting with me. He would stand in his window changing, and because he would come over to my house, he'd come up to my room and we'd just hang out. Both of our moms had a little too much wine one night, and he came up to my room and closed the door. As soon as he closed my door, I knew something was gonna happen. He asked me if I wanted a back massage, and I was
My mom tried to have a threesome with me in a chicken coop. Storytime part 2. Okay, so boom, like I said, my mom was just desperate and she would literally do anything for this man. I walked into the chicken coop to feed the chickens, and my mom was there on top of her boyfriend naked. I tried to walk away, but her boyfriend stopped me. He said, wait, hold on, this is perfect. Come join us. I looked at my mom thinking this was a joke, but she just said, come here, honey. He's been talking about you. He likes the both of us. They're in their 40s and I'm 14. And I just stood there in shock because my mom was really trying to convince me to come sleep with her and her boyfriend. I, of course, did not participate. I told my dad, currently staying with him, and my mom and real dad got into an argument and now are facing legal battles. And I'm just here still shocked that my mom asked me for a threesome in a chicken coop.
Story time about how my dead husband's best friend won't leave me alone. Disclaimers is not my story time, was sent me on Instagram. As soon as I opened the door, he asked me if he could kiss me and I didn't say anything. And he grabbed me and just started kissing me. Of course, I pushed him away and told him that he needed to leave. That's when he said, but you didn't say no. I told him I didn't say anything because I was shocked he would even ask me that. That's when he walked into the house without me inviting him, went straight to the fridge and opened up a beer. Then he starts yelling at me for giving him mixed signals. He says that since my husband died, all I've been doing is flirting with him. Since when is grieving flirting? I told him that he was completely wrong and that he needed to leave again. Then he said, no, I'm not leaving leaving here until you tell me the truth. That I was secretly in love with him and that I actually wanted to be with him. No, this wasn't funny to me at all. He was slurring his words and barely could stand up. I knew my kids were upstairs, so all I wanted to do was get him out of the house. That's when I grabbed my phone and started texting one of my other husband's best friends. I texted him 911, please come to our house now. He responded right away saying, I'm coming over. After another minute of this guy ranting at me, I told him I was sorry for giving him mixed signals and that was never my intention, blah, blah, blah. Then he asked me out on a date. He said that he wanted to take me out and show me a